Just go do your hair. And
Which one is on?
one. I don't.
Hi, dears. Thank you so much for being here on time. We're gonna start in just a few seconds. Hi. Hi, T. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for joining. We got quite something in-house for us today. Well, depending on where you're at. Okay, got one more person. Great. Hi. Okay, wonderful. Welcome, Basira. We're gonna get started. So good to see you all. Such a beautiful space we always have here. Truly. Yeah. Okay. So we got quite something for us today. As every time, and every time I just blown away by what comes through and the new level of clarity that arrives. And this is a juicy one. This is a juicy one. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Okay, so we're opening up our training 2 of the Integral Mystery School, and I want to start us off with a quote. I initially put a Rumi quote that was also super nice and juicy, but then I remembered that I had this one, and there couldn't be a better quote for this training. So Margaret Mead, or Mad, she said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Wow, I feel it's just so powerful, so powerful, so powerful. And so who are those thoughtful, committed citizens that can change the world? Why wouldn't this be us? Is what I invite us to ponder today. And so in the last training, and we'll cover kind of like Netflix style last episode in the series Popcorn Main Insights piece in a second, but we did the first principles of the universe in the last training. Thank you so much for being there. That was fun. And today is the Inspirited Leadership piece. This is the name of today's training. Then I'm rearranging these things as I thought I would as we go. So the next one I believe will be on new physics, a new science that is emerging, that is still not in the textbooks, but that is emerging from deep within, actually, and from the vast outside as well, of course. Then we'll go into quite an experiential one. We'll speak about sacred anatomy, and it will follow from the new physics because it's a reflection. So as above, so below. It's all a reflection. The inner is a reflection of the outer. Then we'll go into the next one, which I cannot see here. So I need to, 1 second, and somebody is also needs me to admit them. Just give me 1 quick second. Okay. There you go. Just 1 quick second. Yes, and then the last one will probably be how to set up transformational containers, use sacred medicines, the art and science of that, treating life as a ceremony, as a ritual, as a transformational container, all the different pieces of life, and then celebration, graduation. So this may change, but this is the plan for now. And so moving on, in the last episode, we were talking about the universal first principles, and I'll name them one after another. The principle of oneness, that all is one, which states that all is in the all, within the all, contained within the all, and also the all is in everything, is in all. And then the second principle of correspondence is as above, so below, which states that there is symmetry and harmony in everything in the universe. And so there are mirror-like reflections everywhere, including a very important one, the inner and outer reflecting one another. Our inner space reflecting the outer reality that we experience, which the mystic traditions refer to as minor arcana and major arcana. In the tarot, you have that as well in every tarot. So that's what it is. And the third principle of vibration states that everything vibrates, nothing rests. And so the stars pulsate and the dust pulsates too at different degrees of vibration. And so there is this whole grand cosmic vibration scale from infinitely slow to infinitely fast. And the slowest vibration encounters the highest vibration. They both rest in stillness. Then there is principle of polarity, stating that all is dual and has a polarity, love and hate, ignorance and knowledge, light and darkness, good and evil, small and large, and that paradoxes reconcile through this maxim that the polarities are not two distinct opposites, they're indeed degrees of one thing. So spectrums, and that assists us in reconciling all the universal paradoxes, and there are plenty. Then there is principle of rhythm, that everything has a rhythm in it. So there is an ebb and flow, things rise and fall, advance and retreat, are born and die. And so there is cosmic pendulum that swings from one pole to another and back. So everything, nothing escapes it. Seasons, movements, companies, products, trends, philosophies. And then finally, there is a principle of cause and effect, which states that there's an effect for every cause and vice versa. There is a cause for every effect. Sorry, there was one more. Principle of gender, that there is a feminine and masculine aspect to everything. The Ouroboros, the infinite cycle of masculine begetting feminine, feminine begetting masculine, and like this everywhere. And we see it and this is super powerful and practical because we can look at anything through this prism and see that there is always this balancing act of the heart and mind, of the left and right brain, of the doing and being, structure and creative process, direction and flow, acting and resting, decisiveness and surrender, spirituality and science, and spiritual and material, which brings us into the topic of today. And then we also spoke about a few more practical use cases, how these principles can be applied. So the spiritual development, recognizing and attaining the truth that spirit is in us, acting through us as us, and the law of neutralization, the inner alchemy, which states that we can transmute the inner undesirable states to worthy and desirable states. So go on that spectrum of between agitation and calm, scatteredness and focus, love and hate, fear and courage, hesitation, decisiveness, apathy, excitement, by polarizing us to the desirable pole, and then this way escaping the cosmic pendulum, rising above it. So not canceling it because it's impossible, but using that principle instead of it using us, up until at some point attaining so much mental firmness and poise so that we're not affected by this cosmic pendulum, or rarely are. And then the balancing of masculine and feminine map, the music, movement, and dance as the perfect playground and training ground for balancing those. And we looked at the 7 principles in just one infographic, which is this, the square and the circle emanating from the one source, infinitely on the grand scale of vibration, in a rhythm, from the 2 poles of infinity and singularity. Beautiful. So welcome to training 3. And as I said, spiritual and material will be quite a topic for today. And this training is called Inspirited Leadership. Inspirited Leadership. Ooh, I'm so excited. Yeah, maybe another quote of Rumi. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. So I want to start by saying that we're all leaders. This follows immediately from the law of the Hermetic laws that we just looked at, there is a spectrum of leadership. So we all lead, even if, I don't know, once a life, we guide someone, we show the way, we help, you know, an old man or an old lady to cross the street. Isn't that leadership? That's leadership. And so leadership is everywhere. We show up as leaders. It's just about the degrees of how much we do it. So yeah, this is important to recognize to start us off. And I want to take us into a sacred etymology, sacred linguistics little journey. So in Russian language, contemporary modern Russian language, there is a word that is pronounced duch. And duch means two things at the same time. It means a spirit, the great spirit, or just spirit, any spirit, and it means breath. So spirit as in essence, quintessence, and breath as well. Two meanings. One word, two meanings. So basically this word suggests us that breath and spirit is one. And in Latin languages, which includes English language, there is a word in Latin, in actual Latin, there's a word that is pronounced dux. And the meaning of the word is leader. And this is, we know this word, it came into English in words duke, educate, and many, many others. So essentially, to educate is to make someone a duke or a leader. That was a realization that struck a chord in me at some point. And when we look at these two words together now, we realize that they sound pretty similar. In fact, strikingly similar. Duch and dux. Duch and dux. And when we then ask ourselves, is there a common origin? Like, why are they so sounding so similar? And that took me on a whole journey with AI, which is really helpful to go on linguistics and etymology journeys about words. And so as I dove into that realm of origins of words, AI is really quick to just track the words into their origins. And there is a language that is called Proto-Indo-European language that is an ancient language that was spoken 12,000 years ago and beyond, earlier than that, that gave birth to Latin, Proto-Slavic languages, Germanic languages, etc., etc. So it's the root of the Latin and the Slavic, which Russian belongs to that group. And so when we look at the Proto-Indo-European roots of these two words, what we see is that they actually also have almost identical pronunciation. And the pronunciation is dech and deuk. So same number of letters, same first letter, very similar last letter, and almost same sound in the middle. And so that tells us that our ancestors, very distant ancestors, as they were creating languages as a technology to describe what is, to describe reality, they actually equated leadership and spirit. For them, it was the same thing. And so there is a word inspiration, and inspiration comes from spirare, which is in Latin is to breathe. And so and it's spirit as well. And so basically what we're seeing here is that in the ancient languages, human languages, it was the same concept. So leadership and spirit and breath were one. And then they split into two separate codes, one being leadership without the meaning of the spirit or breath, and another one, breath or spirit without that meaning of leadership. So kind of like as languages and civilizations broke into parts and separated, they lost a very important part of the meaning of things. And so what we're seeing here is that in its origin, it was the same thing: animating life and directing life, inspiration and guidance, or leadership and spirit were one thing. And so this is the topic of our gathering today, Inspirited Leadership. And so when that separation happened, there is an imbalance that gets introduced. And so when leaders are imbalanced in spirit, then they overly focus on the material because they're basically grasping onto it, right? That's the definition of overly focusing on something or imbalanced something. Then the other part becomes all of a sudden uh, um, um, seem lacking, like there's not enough of it, and so I'm gonna grasp on it because it's limited, it's scarce, right? And then on the other hand, the same principle happens in the other direction, where inspirited people are imbalanced in leadership, and so that turns into lack of practical roadmaps, vulnerability to stronger material forces, and lost opportunities. Okay? And so the inspirited leader combines and balances both sides in them so that they can bridge the divide between West and East, heart and mind, masculine and feminine, spirit and science. And so an inspirited leader unites spirit, breath, or inspiration, and leadership in one. And this is important because this was the case in the ancient times, in the tribal times. Leaders were supposed to be inspirited. And in my view, we lost that as humanity. And we're having imbalances all over the place. And so the emergence of a new type of a leader is to bring back the inspirited leadership to earth, where the wise ones are the ones that actually, well, wise and loving, wise and compassionate are the ones that are in leadership positions, and not those that are imbalanced in spirit or imbalanced in leadership. And I want to give, before we move on from this to more practical things on leadership, I want to give a couple of examples, and it's kind of obvious in terms of the both imbalances, right? So the imbalance in spirit, where leadership is strong, but it's not coming from a place of inspiration and groundedness in vision and purpose and just being inspirited, is, well, the West, the countries that are leading the world somewhere, and the world is following, but where those individuals and teams are leading the world grasps onto the material, leading to greed, little sustainability, and sometimes just pure disaster. And then on the other hand, the inspirited people that are in leadership positions but lack the practical frameworks, organizational frameworks, and frameworks for getting things done are indigenous communities that have incredible cosmologies, incredible level of attunement to the planet as one living system, incredible knowledge of how to use the resources of the planet, but that lack those practical frameworks that are present in the some of the Western world, and hence struggle to make themselves known to the world so that we balance together. And so now I want to shift gears into a framework of integral leadership, because leadership is such a buzzword that if you ask a person on the street to define that, it's going to be a challenge, just like with meditation or God. And so integral leadership is very simple concept. It's basically leadership looked at from different perspectives, because leaders come in different flavors. There are 4 main archetypes of leaders that exist, and this is not my invention. This is a synthesis of the best frameworks on leadership that exist on the planet. And the best frameworks that exist on the planet are integral frameworks, meaning somebody already synthesized other leadership frameworks into one and presented it. And so I'm here integrating the integrated frameworks using AI. And so what it yields is four main archetypes of leaders. There is a directive or strategic leadership, where leaders get things done, provide structure, set goals, enforce accountability. Then there is a relational leadership that is all about harmony, emotional intelligence, fostering growth and success of others. Then there is visionary leadership, which inspires, ignites, proposes shared purpose, proposes future-oriented ideas, big picture thinking. And then finally, there is collaborative or systemic leadership, which is all about distributed power, co-creation, group processes, adaptation, uh, consensus and consent decision-making, etc., etc. And if we were to plot them on these simple graph, where we look at individual or versus collective on the vertical and inner outer on the horizontal, which we'll speak about in some of the next trainings. This is a very powerful meta framework. So we could say that visionary is someone that comes from within, brings that vision from within. Then directive leadership or strategic is when it's all about goals, KPIs, OKRs, results, measurements, getting concrete things done, goal setting. Then relational is all about culture and it's all about relations. And then collaborative is a team looked at the outside. So how can we as a group move on? And so what's important to understand here is that most leaders, they blend these styles. It's not like we're clear cut, there's no cookie cutter for that. So we can all blend these types, and that's the healthy way to go, actually. But also at the same time, each person and each team typically leans in certain directions of leadership. And so I want to do a little exercise together. I want to ask you guys, what are your natural leadership styles out of those four? And so let's do a little self-discovery exercise for just a few minutes, maybe 3, 4. And the prompt is, what energizes you the most out of those leadership styles? So you got 100 points, and please assign them across these four. Okay, so I'll bring this back up, this one. So how do you naturally show up? What energizes you the most? What kind of leader do you tend to be? And you got 100 points, right? So you could do 25, 25, 25, 25, or you could do 90, 5, 2, 3, or whatever it is. So just, yeah, take out your notebook or paper or phone or computer and just put the 4 leadership styles and a number to them, and the numbers should add up to 100. Let me know if it's not entirely clear what we're doing here. Otherwise, you got 3 or 4 minutes to do this exercise. Just feel into it. Okay. I suppose we should be done. Anybody needs more time? Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you for this self-reflection exercise that we did as a group. And let's move on from here. So next thing I want to touch upon is an evolutionary dynamics of business leadership, which simply means that, you know, any company goes through this kind of stages that we looked at in level 1 in month 1. So there is some ignition or initiation, founder market fit. Then there is the MVP, minimal viable product. The company builds a product. Then it finds the product market fit. So the product starts to sell very well and grow. Then there is scaling up. So we scale it. And then there is optimization and organizational building to convert that into like a proper functional company. And so this is one way to look at how the different types of leadership develop across time and what kind of leadership is usually required at each stage. And there is a graph that is that I want to show and explain a little bit. Don't get scared of this graph. It's actually, I want to just illustrate a few points. Basically, yeah, this shows these same stages that we just looked at. And then this shows the percentages of the different four leadership styles. And this is just an approximation. This is what I did for this training with AI and using these leadership frameworks. And so basically, the important thing here to notice is that the visionary leadership is much higher in the beginning. And as the venture develops, it diminishes in significance. Always there, always stays, but not as high as in the beginning when the ignition needs to happen. A vision, a purpose needs to be infused into the organization. Then the directive or strategic leadership peaks when like something needs to be delivered, especially in the beginning, which makes a lot of sense. Because when if no product is created, then nothing happens. Like it needs to be created for the company to continue, and that requires quite some work and quite some intensity. And since it's still initial stages, usually, you know, the company is not that well financed by definition. And so that type of leadership makes a lot of sense and gains a lot of importance there. And then it starts to diminish and collaborative and systemic leadership takes more space, especially in the scale up and expansion stage. For the reason that that's when the company needs to, or the product or any team needs to essentially like distribute the power and create the organization, as opposed to just a core, a nucleus of first leaders that give birth to this product or company. And then relational coaching as well. The more we go into the later stages, the more important it gets. More and more importance. Okay, so this was the evolutionary dynamics of business leadership. There's a couple more things that I would love to share, but we won't do it for the sake of time here. So for each of the four archetypes, there are three or four subtypes. So it's interesting to read through those subtypes to also calibrate one's own leadership style and to even like become aware of what is, how do we lead? How do people lead? Because as I said, we're all leaders. There's not like, oh, you're a leader, you're not a leader. Everybody leads in their own ways, in their own circumstances, in their own contexts, in their own dynamics of that leadership. And so reading the three subtypes is a great exercise to open up the mind to what is even possible, like what does one need to do and also to calibrate that to how we've shown up before in the projects that we were a part of. Then there is also an integral map of leadership development that I created just for this, which essentially takes the four types of integral leadership and plots them against the spiral dynamic developmental stages that every human goes through as they grow. And so that's a very interesting one to read, which we won't do right now. It's a lot of, relatively a lot of reading. So this is also can really light up the understanding of how I've been showing up, what are my ways to show up, where am I more or less on those developmental stages, where am I growing towards, and how am I balancing all these? Because it's also not about, you know, getting to the top of the stairs. It's about having them well balanced. Yes, getting as higher as possible, and while balancing all of them, because it's not like the others become irrelevant as we grow. No, they stay relevant. Maybe less so the very first, you know, basic survival stages, the survival Maslow pyramid of needs type of level. So less so there, obviously, because we've advanced just way ahead from those stages. But yes, the start everything starting from number 3 to 8, all of them are at play at all times. Okay, so that's something that whoever is interested in this, well, you can make a screenshot now, or I can send the links to you if you ping me in Telegram, direct message, or in the group. In the group is better, I think, so that we see if somebody is interested. Others can use that too. Okay, so now we're going to bring it all together. We're talking about inspirited integral leadership here. And what does that mean? Well, an integral leader can fluidly tap into multiple modalities and also the substyles of those archetypes and modalities as the situations develop and demand. So the directive leadership when urgent clarity is needed, for example, relational when cultivating trust and personal growth is paramount, visionary when igniting big change and higher purpose is needed, and collaborative when we need to weave groups intelligence and shared power, and they all fluidly coexist in a person and in a team. And inspirited leadership is the deepest part of it, which is balancing that spiritual and scientific heart and mind, feminine and masculine. So staying in that balance, which has been really the topic in many of these trainings containers that we've been discussing. So that's everything together in one slide. And so now we're going to shift gears again and go into something really mind-blowing. This is a lot. This stuff is a lot, but that's how it comes about. Thanks to you guys as well for being here and for being present with this, and for wanting to know this at the deeper being level. So we got, okay, let's take a few deep breaths, because this is quite a shift of gears. Let's just close down our eyes. Take some deep breaths through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. So breathing in alertness, awakefulness, power, confidence, life energy, and breathing out, melting into the space, feeling the connection with the ground, feeling here, now, present in the physical body, not anywhere else, but here, not some other time, but now. A few more deep breaths. Feeling all those sensations, the tingling in the hands and the connection with the seat you're at or on, your feet on the ground or on the floor. The honorable position of your spine. And coming back gently into this container, opening your eyes when you're ready. And we'll continue by looking at the two huge tsunamis coming at humanity at this time. The two singularities, two tsunamis, two huge waves, exponentially converging into one, which are the evolution of human consciousness and the evolution of technology, is one way to look at it. And we could also say heart and mind. We could also say many things, spiritual and material. So human consciousness and technology. And psychologists the leading psychologists in the world predict that 10% of humanity will be at this next layer of consciousness. We haven't looked at that yet. Maybe next training will be on looking at those frameworks. But nevertheless, there is something people call tier 2 consciousness, which is an integration, a balancing of human consciousness in humans. And so 10% of humanity is predicted to reach that stage on average across the species by 2035, around that year. So not cut in stone. It's a foresight prediction, but that's what it is. Now, why is that important, or why am I even saying that? Because 10% is a very particular figure in mathematical modeling. It's usually the tipping point. It's usually the point that starts not a clear cut, but around that point, an explosive spread, explosive switch, change of the system into a different state starts. And that means that that consciousness in humans will result in corresponding types of culture, narratives, cultural memes, ontologies, systems, products, politicians, politics, understandings, policies, etc., 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 etc. In other words, this emerging new psychologists call it tier 2 level of consciousness. Why tier 2? Because it's very different from the previous tiers of consciousness. It's really something unprecedented for humanity in this cycle of evolution of humans. And so this emerging level of consciousness, obviously, as we create from that inner world, where else we create, everything: systems, products, relationships, teams, etc. So tier 2 systems are being created. And there is a coordination issue that exists. There's a lot of redundancy and siloed efforts as we go through that process of evolving the systems in humanity. And this can be anything. It can be systems to expand consciousness, systems to create better living conditions, systems to create better education, etc., etc. We'll look at that in just a second. And so there are barriers to mass collaboration because we don't know who's doing a similar thing to what I'm doing. Because otherwise I would just, join forces. I would just join their team and make this complementary collabs with them, right? And so what I've been doing in the last years was to create a roadmap to 2035. I got inspired by different utopias that different people created. Some of them are books, some of them are like full-fledged projects, some of them are like land-based projects, etc. So utopias, and I've been integrating them with AI, and that resulted with an open source system that describes this what's happening on Earth in terms of these tier 2 systems using AI. And so the way we created it together with AI was the following. This is kind of like the architecture. So we first asked ourselves, okay, what are humans up to? Like, how can we describe what we as humanity do on the planet in a way that covers it all, that doesn't only look at the piece, at the fragment, but covers the entirety of human endeavors, which is quite a task. And but AI brilliantly does it really fast because it has all these advanced ways of thinking that humans are still growing into. And so after that, we realized that it's very broad categories. We'll look at them in just a second, but it got very broad. So for example, we said economy. So what's economy? Like, what do we mean really by economy? And so we broke it down into 45 focus areas across the 6 pillars. Then we asked ourselves, okay, well, what are the biggest challenges? Because we don't want to just go into solutionism and create something for the sake of creating. If we were to ask ourselves as humanity, like, how do we, create this better future for ourselves? And so it's important to look at challenges. Then challenges allow us to set goals. What can we do in 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years? And then that allows us to break it down even further to a more granular description of who's up to what, so that then we can map projects, existing projects, onto those missions and hopefully find one another. These were some of the goals of this exercise that I did. And we won't go, like, this is not a pitch of this project. This is not to explain all the details of it. I included it as part of this training because it directly talks to the Inspirited leadership. And so I want to provide examples of my missions that I resonate with, that I've accepted, that I'm here on Earth to do certain things. And I put it into words, and then I feel into it, and then it opens up with more details and more precision, and then I do it. I create things, I create products, I do collaborations, etc. So I want to name what I consider now my missions. And people usually say that there is one mission, but I believe that it's much more fluid than that. There can be multiple missions, and also they evolve, and another one may appear. So it's very fluid in my view. And they can also kind of like fractally plug into one another as well. So it's a very kind of interesting, funky topic in and of itself. So why would I give the examples of my missions? Because if I basically want to find others on the same mission, because we rise together, we're in the same boat, and as the water goes up, all the boats go up, and all the people in those boats go up. And so I want to find others on the same mission. I want to collaborate, and I want to join forces, and I want to learn from them, and I want to share what I know with them, etc., etc., etc. And so I'll just name them because I feel giving examples is really powerful, because the mind is like, oh, okay, I get it. Because otherwise we just say, oh, mission, purpose, and then it's so overwhelming. Like, what are we even talking about? So in my case, one mission is to guide consciousness expansion containers with cannabis and other medicines. 2, steward the evolutionary dynamics of human society and systems, which is that project that I just shared. 3, create integral life-enhancing products, which is the Zone of Genius product and things like that. Map of quality of life, this container is a part of it. Then assist people in purpose and mission discovery. Zone of Genius is that. What we're doing here is partially mission discovery, and also guide people to multidimensional integral awakening, which is also what I do. So these things I do kind of like every day of my life. And yeah, so that's just an example of what that is for me. And so basically I can take each one of them. We won't do it right now, but I have, and I can take each one of them and match them to some of the 1,000 missions within that mapping that I just shared with you. And so they perfectly match onto those missions. And so essentially that became a mission discovery tool that I want to quickly share with you, show it to you. Let's see. This. Let me show it to you like this first. So basically I told you that there are 6 pillars, right? These are the 6 pillars. There are focus areas. There's like from 5 to 10 per each. Then there are challenges. Then there's a desired outcome or goal. And then there are a few missions for each of the goals. And so this allows any person to essentially go through these and see what they feel most called to work on. And we'll do a little deep dive here in just a second. But yeah, another way to look at it is like this. So one selects a pillar. So we'll speak about them. Actually, why don't we speak about them right now? So there are 6 pillars that we identified. One is, let's start from the bottom. So one is environment. Environment is what you think it is. It's the whole regeneration. It's being one living system with the planet. It's the entire ecology piece. It's all of that. And then infrastructure is a big one. It includes infrastructure, it includes technology, it includes all kinds of things. It's basically how we relate to the 3D planet around us, and for our comfort and for our benefit and for thriving, prosperity, etc. Then governance is how we make decisions, how we agree on things together as a collective, right? Hopefully where everybody wins. Economy is about prosperity, it's about thriving. That's what it's really about, in my view. Then culture consciousness, we could split them in two. That would give 7. They would even map to chakras, or colors of the rainbow. But it's also good to look at them together, culture, consciousness, because they're very closely interrelated. So that's all about education, art, elevation of consciousness, cultural narratives, shared values, all of that. We'll look at that in just a second. And meta pillar is basically we go into the meta position, we rise above these 5, 6, and then we say, what can we do to tackle multiples of them at the same time? Okay. So now let's bring ourselves, actually, no, we're gonna continue riffing on this. Yeah, so I'm gonna walk you through the focus areas, the 45 focus areas. And as I do, please, a little interactivity here, feel into what calls you the most. Out of those 45 focus areas, as I go through them, feel where most resonance lies. Okay? Can be 1, can be 2, can be 3, can be 44, 45. No, cannot be all of them. I'm just playing as many as you want. So just feel into it, okay? And let me go back to something else. I want to use another way to look at it here. I have them in a way that is more easy to look at. And let's go in that same order. So starting with the environment. Focus area number 1, ecological consciousness and stewardship. So ecology, right? 2, regenerative ecosystems and circular economy. 3, low carbon transition and climate adaptation. 4, biodiversity conservation and sustainable land management. 5, sustainable resource management. 6, eco-conscious urban development and design. I think 7, inclusive environmental governance and justice. And 8, holistic environmental education and awareness. Okay, let's move on to, I think it was infrastructure. Okay, there are some more in this one. 1, integral infrastructure design and decentralization. So designing decentralized infrastructures. Infrastructures of consciousness. If it's not clear what it means, just feel into it. You can look at that mission discovery tool and see what is meant by looking at the missions and the goals and the challenges, what is meant in this focus by this focus area. Number 3, decentralized self-organizing infrastructure. So making infrastructure decentralized and self-organizing, next level, next paradigm of infrastructure. Next, intersubjective and interobjective infrastructure. So all about connecting that. Infrastructure for integral health and well-being. So that's where healthcare goes into. Next, convergent technology infrastructure. So technology goes in there. And convergence of technology is just the way things are. AI is basically technology converging into one sort of like ultimate technology that can create other technology, right? Next, integral finance and funding mechanisms. So finance and funding mechanisms for infrastructure. Regenerative and resilient infrastructure. So this is all your disaster response goes in there in terms of the infrastructure, for example. Then integral mobility and connectivity. So mobility and connectivity, right? Transportation, logistics. Then monitoring and evaluation for integral impact. So that's focus on the impact created by infrastructure and all related to that. Then the next one we're going to look at is governance. So in terms of the governance, And by the way, I just want to remind you once again that this is not just some list that we're looking at, that what could we look at in terms of infrastructure. No, it's made in such a way that there is nothing missing here. Whatever we look at that humans do on the planet currently, and in 10 years and in 20 years, it will be a part of these. There is nothing missing here, which almost sounds like too good to be true or unbelievable. I don't know what, but that's the case. And it is achieved by working with AI across all levels and by employing integral and holonic frameworks, which make sure that nothing is missing, that everything is covered. So everything is holistic across all layers. Okay. The 6 main pillars are holistic. The 45, the whatever 6 focus areas are holistic within each pillar. All of them together are holistic. Like it's quite a potent piece of technology actually that came through. Okay, so in terms of the governance, we got holistic, and we're kind of like halfway through it. Holistic and adaptive governance framework. So a framework that is all inclusive for governance for humanity. Then like new models of governance, essentially. Inclusive stakeholder engagement and empowerment. So this is all about including stakeholders, right? Participatory citizen initiatives, things like that. Then you got ethics, integrity, and accountability. That speaks for itself. Governance, innovation, and capacity building. Pretty clear as well. Resilience, regeneration, and impact evaluation. Resilience, regeneration, and impact evaluation in terms of governance. Then integral policy development and implementation. So that's, we got quite a few policy makers here in terms of education and knowledge base. So it's kind of cool. Okay, so we got next one, we got the economy. Conscious business models. Ooh, I love this one. Economy is one of my favorites. Well, actually, I love almost all of them. Equitable resource distribution. Equitable resource distribution. Innovation and integral technology. So innovation and technology as part of the economy, not as part of the infrastructure. Then collaborative consumption. So yeah, new models of consumption. Then inclusive growth. So growing, but in sustainable, inclusive ways. Then global and local balance. It's a big one. Then economic education and consciousness. And finally, sustainability incentives. That is, these are the focus areas for economy. Then culture and consciousness, there are only 5. Integral education and learning. So everything that has to do with education and learning goes in there. Then you got media or conscious media, or you can just say media. Then there is collective mindfulness. So all that has to do with, and the word mindfulness is used, but it's beyond that. It's collective consciousness, really, collective presence, collective mindfulness, all of that. Then there is shared values and art. Yeah, art. And finally, the last one is, hope it's not too boring, meta pillar. And the meta pillar, yeah, if yeah, it may be a little overwhelming, but this is, I feel, very powerful to open up the mind to what's really happening in humanity on the planet and what kind of opportunities there may be. And we'll get into that in just a second. So meta pillar. This is, I guess, my favorite one, because I love to, you know, the big picture view and look at things from a helicopter view or even like International Space Station view. So number 1, frameworks and methods for conscious evolution. So frameworks and methodologies to ensure rapid and gentle and effective consciousness evolution on the planet. Then we got ecosystemic alignment and synergy. So think about all the eco villages that are popping up and conscious communities. How do we align them and synergize them? Ecosystemic leadership and capacity building. That's kind of what we're doing here. Ecosystemic impact measurement and learning. So also speaks for itself. Okay, great. We're doing all, the planet is changing. How do we measure true, real impact and learn from that and create feedback loops to improve that? Then resource mobilization and sustainability. How do we mobilize the resources and synergize and get to know what kind of resources we have as a collective? How do we sustainably mobilize and utilize them? Next, community engagement and collaboration. Hugely important. How do we collaborate? How do we help one another collaborate? And how do we engage as one decentralized planetary community comprised of many other fractal solar communities? Then there is ecosystemic governance and coordination, which obviously draws upon the governance pillar, but this is more meta level. So how do we coordinate and govern in a way that where everybody wins? And finally, narrative and inspiration. So how do we make role models known? How do we create positive media stories? How do we create a joint narrative, inspire people, let them know what's possible, etc., etc. So these were all the focus areas. Thank you so much for listening. I think it's quite illuminating to see. Again, the big important thing to remember here is that we're not just looking at some list. We're looking at all what humans are up to, and this is very powerful. Now, why is this powerful? Hopefully, you have the focus areas that call you the most, because this you can use now. How can you use it? There is an AI tool called Perplexity that basically does AI Google search or like web search inbuilt within. So you can now give it the pillar and the focus area that you're most interested in, and you can tell it, this is a big one. You can tell it, find me most aligned projects within this space and make sure they have funding. They can pay salaries. You can also ask around people within that space, and now kind of like there is more precision, accuracy in terms of what to ask. And the idea is to join forces, is to do collabs and to find others on a similar mission. And you don't have to use Perplexity AI necessarily. You can just ask ChatGPT, and you can ask Claude, whatever AI is using. It will still give you a great response. So you can jam with AI on this. It's also, I always recommend to use personalization, to give it your zone of genius at least, or also to tell, like, use all the knowledge that you've collected about me through our interactions to respond, to find the best matches. And this can go far. Okay, so that was super practical. And now I want to mention just a few other use cases that exist from this mapping that I shared with you, which goes much more granular than we looked at. We kind of looked at the tip of the iceberg of it. And essentially, these are new developmental goals. I truly believe that in the future, this is how humanity will set goals, planetary goals, by using AI, assistance of AI, and doing it together in co-creation with AI. The most important one for me, I think, is that it's a way to find the others on similar missions. It's a way to find one another, and you got a concrete way how to do it in the previous slide. Then, and this is maybe a more complex one, this is also a product roadmap. So by knowing what humanity is up to, we can all together create a roadmap. How do we get there in the best possible way? And we can also see what's the most what's the shortcut, what's the most optimal path. But that's a whole conversation in and of its own. And lastly, I want to say that it applies to this kind of an approach applies to everything, this kind of mapping, because it applies at the level of team, it applies at the level of eco village, it applies at a startup, it applies at a venture building studio. How? Because guess what? For any eco village, they have to think about how to govern themselves, how to make decisions together. Sooner or later, they have to think about their economy. How do we prosper and thrive together? they have to think about ecology. What do we do with that river that is on the property? What do we do with garbage management, right? They have to think about infrastructure, obviously. And they have to think about essentially all of those topics and all of those, maybe I would even say all the focus areas that we described. They have to think about logistics and mobility. They have to think about um, consciousness evolution together. Yeah. So this is the beauty of this mapping, that it really, in my view, opens the mind to how to look at team formation, how to look at eco village development, how to look at another angle of startup development, and so on. Okay, so this was all the informational piece that I wanted to share today. And so I welcome you to reality surfing, because when we know these things, when we know that these deeper layers are unfolding on Earth, then we can essentially choose to play the games that we want to choose to play, which is kind of like surfing those tsunamis, surfing those waves, staying on top of them. So welcome to reality surfing. That hopefully there are some more tools and some more understanding towards doing that, some more empowerment. And so this was Inspirited Leadership, which is essentially being on purpose and on mission, or simply put, playing aligned roles in aligned projects in our professional life. And now I'd love to do a little meditation activation together to receive some more of the answers through a meditative experience together. So yeah, let me teach you a particular breath work that I'd love us to use, that we have not spoken about before. But as we continue in this container, I feel that it's time to introduce a little bit of breath work, and you may choose to do it or not. One second. Just take a second to plug all the right cables in. Yes, so, and you know what? I'm not even joking about the cables. I actually need to plug in juice into my computer. So, how are we gonna do it? Okay, just allow me 10 seconds to, or 15 or whatever, 20 to get the cable and be right back with you, okay? Okay, I'm back. I think I was about 24 seconds. The breath work. So it may look a little overwhelming in the beginning, the way it looks, kind of like complex, but it's actually not. And the body picks it up. Just trust your body's intuition. We'll do it together. So it looks and sounds like this. I'm breathing, by the way, through the mouth and breathing out through the mouth as well. So it looks and sounds like this. Okay. So I'm breathing out through and in and out through the mouth. And it's as if I'm making sounds E, ah, oo, as I breathe in into the belly, into the chest, and into the neck and head area. But I'm actually not making the sounds. It's just that my lips are in, my mouth is in this manner as I do. Okay. So let's try it together. Just a few quick rounds. Starting in 3, 2, 1. And take a deep breath in. Keep it there for a second. And breathe out. So this is the 3-part breath we'll be using. Don't worry about it if your mind is like, oh, I'm not sure I got it. The body will pick up. And yeah, it was just 111 here, by the way, as we are getting into this. So let me play us out with the music. And I invite you to sit up straight. You can turn off your camera if you like. And drop in, drop into presence. Start taking deep breaths in through the nose. And out through the nose as well. Inviting all that life energy, the golden light, to come into your system. Just open up to it. And as you breathe out, relax, melt like an ice cream under the sun. Maintaining that honorable posture, the straight spine. And keep breathing consciously like that. Feeling how the breath gets ever more smooth, refined. And feeling yourself like honey on a spoon. Very smooth. Breathing in that golden light. Breathing in into your belly first. Filling up all your lungs. Exchanging air from the outside with your inside. As above, so below. Allowing that air to push your rib cage gently, ever more open as you breathe in. Open up to receive. Enjoying the sensations in the body. Allowing that golden light to penetrate you from your crown all the way down. Filling up your whole body. Energizing, charging you up. And as you breathe out, relaxing further and further, encountering that there is no limit to that relaxation. Expanding up and rooting down. Feeling yourself connected to the all, electrified, and feeling yourself magnetized, pulled into the center of the earth with gravity, with stability, with groundedness. Keep breathing. And I invite you on a round of this 3-part breath. We're going to be starting in 3, 2, and 1. Keep going like that. Keep breathing, inviting the energy, inviting the golden light, and relaxing at the out breath. Keep breathing like that. Just a few more. And in your next in-breath, take a deep breath in. And hold it there as long as you can. Relaxing into this space, relaxing into the stillness. Allowing yourself to expand, to receive, to see. And when you need to, breathe out through your mouth. Return to your normal breathing. Relax your face. Allow a gentle smile on your face. Just allow yourself to be, to receive. Notice how the breath is ever more refined and smooth. Enjoy your breath. And we're going to do another round of this 3-part breath. And we'll start in 3, 2, and 1. Breathing deeply in your belly, chest, head, and releasing the air. Keep breathing, you can do it. Deep breaths in. We're about halfway through. A few more. And we're going to be taking a deep breath in 3, 2, and 1. Take a deep breath in. Tense your fists, tense your forearms, flex your arms, your legs, your calves, your hips, your feet, your back, your belly, your chest, your neck, a little bit your face and head, not too much, and just stay there. Allowing that opening, allowing whatever you're feeling, allowing your heart to expand. And when you're ready, breathe out. Coming back to your natural breath, just allowing the body to breathe the way it wants to. It knows exactly what to do. And ask yourself, why am I here on earth? Don't think, just open up to receive whatever comes your way. Just keep breathing. What are you here to lead? Who is your tribe? Allow your guides, your mentors, your spiritual team to hold you, to assist you, to envelop you. Allowing your guardian angel, allow them to assist you to open up your vision, to open up your connection to your inner essence. Your North Star. Your inner compass. Keep breathing. Just allowing yourself to receive, to feel, to connect. To inhabit, to take your place. And starting to gently come back by feeling your physical body, feeling your hands, feeling your brain, feeling your back, feeling your torso, feeling your pelvis, feeling your legs, feeling your feet, rubbing your hands against one another, placing them on your heart, sealing all that energy, understanding, vibration within. And gently coming back into your space. When you're ready, open your eyes very gently and take some time to write down what you received, my dears. Thank you so much for doing this journey together. Okay. Well, congratulations with finishing this training. We're exactly on time. This is the end of training 2 in Spirited Leadership. Thank you so much for coming over in person. We're such a cozy and beautiful group. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you how this experience was for you. Anything you want to share? I saw that there was a question for you from you, Karime. We can also answer that if it's still like to discuss this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, unless there's someone else that has any pressing comment or question, I would maybe love to just tap into this personal, I wouldn't say confusion, but there is, so I've been working with Alex for 10 years or so around uncovering my missions, my life's purpose, and tapping deeper and deeper into the what I'm here for beyond my personal fulfillment and my personal self-realization, which is, I guess, the number one priority for any human that decided to come, any being that decided to come down. That's already like a baseline, right? Self-realization, I guess, is our first and utmost important mission on the planet. However, there are personal missions that we come here to accomplish on behalf of the whole. We come with our, I feel we come down with our agreement we made with the Great Spirit, and it reads several different parts. Some of them are what we're here to contribute with just by being, the emanation of our vibration and frequencies already the powerful shift we came here to deliver. And yet there are other parts of the contract that spell out tasks and missions and how to go about the planet and what to do with our hands and our bodies and our minds and so on. So I guess I wanted to give this context because it is from that depth of understanding that I have this inner conflict sometimes. I know I have like 4 main missions, and I've been proven that like repeatedly, like these are things you came here to do on behalf of the whole. But at times they can feel a little bit, I mean, they're all linked in some magical way, of course, as all is, and they're holonic and all these things, okay? But it's just like this inner conflict that sometimes I'm like, there's only so many hours a day, there's only so much energy I can cast on the world, and there is so much I can do, and then I feel conflict about my missions, right? Some of them are systemic, while some of them are very individual and intimate with individuals, like one-on-one work, and other is systemic work. And I'm just really conflicted about, and some of it is plant medicine work, and other is governance work, which is like very much out there in the world. And so it's just these parts of me that get into conflict and confusion about, should I just focus on one of the missions at a time? Should I just blend them all in and drink a smoothie every day and have like sections of my day that target different missions and different areas that I'm here to serve? So anyway, this is a long-winded question, more like a sharing. And I'm curious to know if, Alex, you have any wisdom to share, or the group as well, like we can honor the collective wisdom of the group and just hear from all of you how you navigate your different missions, starting with the personal realization and then going to the other spheres of our actions, and just knowing how, if there are any practical tips I can get from the collective intelligence. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this question / share. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have a definitive answer to this. Also figuring it out like anyone else is and seeing it unfold. What I can say is that I see 2 different ways how this plays out. So definitely one thing is that like they all very cosmic, so they all plug into one another. So it's not like they're separate things to choose from. They're part of one, and they're incredibly tailored to our uniqueness, right? Like we're incredibly uniquely positioned to be doing those particular projects rather than others. And in my case, like as I was reading those examples of my missions, I was basically realizing that what I'm doing here is essentially all five at the same time playing out in this container. Well, well, conscious expansion, yeah, there wasn't my medicine involved, but the activation we did is also part of my mission to guide people through meditative experiences of different sorts. And so all five of them were at play all at once. And it's incredible when that, so I feel that that's the destination, to merge them, to find ways to cater to all of them without having to split or feel like it's either or. The second part of the answer is that I feel that indeed focus is very important, extremely important, because we have a certain capacity, right? Like when we're like chatting with someone and then somebody is talking to us, you can only do one thing at a time. So there's a certain capacity which can grow, which we can grow, but there's a limit to that capacity of attention that we have at all times. And so focus comes at rescue. And I feel that also when people think about focus, they feel like I need to pick one and say no to the others. And I feel that, yes, in many cases is the case, but in the case of mission, I feel that it is less the case. I feel that they naturally dance with one another. And so there may be a chapter a week where one comes at the foreground at the stage, and then it's goes away from the stage, and then some other mission comes full on at the stage, and this is how they dance. And then if we embrace that zone of genius work and being in aligned roles and self-discovery, continuous self-discovery, and if we embrace excitement, following the bliss formula, then essentially life itself takes care of who's at the stage at each time, which mission is at the stage at each time. So there is time for one, time for another, and then they also merge, and so they create this theatrical performance all together that is just cosmically intertwined and aligned as we go about this whole life of ourselves. So that's my answer. I still have some areas where I get to the edges of the understanding of this, but this is as far as I understand right now. And being on a mission, it doesn't guarantee material success. It has to be complemented with business models, with practicality, with productivity, laser focus in like the actual task we're on, right? Deep work. So allowing ourselves 3 hours chunks of time with no distractions so that we can actually get something done. So all of that still applies, and it would be I think it's a little bit of wishful thinking to think that by connecting with our missions more and more precisely, everything else gets solved automatically.
Thank you. I resonate with what you share. Thank you so much. Yeah. I guess something that I am willing to commit to is to start integrating more my perspective as opposed to have these separate things, having a more integrative look at missions and purpose instead of having like systems are over here, Santa Maria is over here, personal work is over here, right? It's more like all is part of
because they do
cohesive whole. Yeah.
they do plug into one another.
Yeah.
My current understanding is that they always do. It's just that we see it to a certain degree.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'll just conclude my intervention by saying that there is something that came up in the activation, and that was like I felt when you were asking the question, what am I here to lead? What is mine to lead? I felt there was like, and I often tap into that, like a limitation of having the big dream and seeing the big vision, because there's a dream, there's a limitation, a limiting belief that no, this doesn't go with that, or no, I can't lead that. That's too big, or that's too this, or that's too that, or that's too out there. Because my vision is to merge crazy things, and then I feel like no, that's too out there, right? It's leading, it's groundbreaking work, and then I'm like no, let's bring it down. And I noticed that in the activation there's like a mechanism that kicks in and tells me that I should think about it smaller. So thank you for that. That was very insightful for me, and thank you everyone for holding the field together. Sending you all lots of love.
Yeah, I
Uh,
feel I just want to quickly comment on that. I feel that we're all on big missions, and we're waking up to that, and it's a very intricate dance of balancing um, the ego attachments to whatever the ego likes, like being what does ego like? Well, the ego likes to feel like the king of the hill. The ego likes to feel like a superhero. The ego likes to feel like the savior. And so those are like the programs that run deep, some of those. And so it's an act of balancing this empowerment and knowing one's place with humility and with doing things one step at a time.
I found the very similar kind of limiting belief where when you were sort of moving towards like, well, what do you want to lead? I almost was like, I can't lead anything. And there were just a lot of barriers. And there was almost an equating of like leadership and mission with like pain and hard work. And then there was this almost like recoil. And I didn't realize that I had linked all of those things together, which I feel a lot of barriers right now in like seeing that mission and that path like very clearly. Like I can feel the block, and I can also almost feel like the universe being like, there's lessons to be learned before we can open it up for you. And like I did not realize there was so much like fear and pain in that linking of effort and not even achievement, but I think somewhere deep inside me, mission and achievement are too linked, and I feel I need to like consciously separate them. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I want to speak a little bit to the hard work idea.
Just
Yeah,
for
I think
I really don't like hard work. I really don't like effort.
I
You
I
guys know
know.
me. I have a real like
Guess what? No one does actually. No one does. I feel that it's one of the it's yet another very intrusive idea of the ego that uh, yeah, I guess wants to find like explanation or excuse for whatever we consider failures or lack of, or not yet somewhere where we would like to be, somewhere faster or further or something. And I feel that it's a double trouble situation. That in reality, things where we actually advance, they don't take hard work. They're easy, effortless. They happen by themselves. They or there's just little like little rudder movements to like right, like when we like sail or kayak or whatever, right? Like we may go like oh with the with the how do you call them? This thing? What do you call it?
oars, paddles.
Remar paddles, yeah. We go with the pedals like too hard, and then what do? Well, we're just slowing ourselves down, right? So I feel like it's like this here, that the actual things that actually propel us forward are much subtler and much more effortless than the effortful stuff. And the effortful stuff is double trouble. It just slows us down. But that's the paradox. Like we're doing the hard work only to realize at some point that the hard work was actually just on the way. And this is the subtle like energetics of it, right? Like sometimes we do need to, you know, get things done. Sometimes we do need to pull up an all-nighter. Why not? But all-nighters sometimes are so fun, right? Right? So I feel that the hard work is just an idea. It's not the truth of how things really are that get us really ahead.
That's really something I'm going to ponder on. Thank you.
Well, I look at it as getting the initiative started. So in the process of getting the initiative started, that's where the hard work comes in. Once you lay out the format and the blueprint, then you can break it off into segments or chunks and start building collaboration and networks. Then you can focus on it all together, because the picture is too big to do it by self. So you need help. So once you got a directive strategy, you can implement the process to your collaborators outside of the network. So this is how I focus on it, and this is how I see it. So this is how I push forward with it. So my hard work is getting it started, laying out the format, creating the blueprint. Once that's done, then I can share the blueprint with the collaborators in the network and assign everybody something to do, all on a cohesive, one-rhythm plan. That's my process. And I thank you for sharing it, because you broke that down very, very well through your integral map and through the processes on the economics and all that. All that's, it all works. It all ties in. It's not, those are just the separate units. And those are the units that we have to make a cohesive unit once we create that. And that's what this is all about, creating that cohesive unit where everything is covered. Nothing is left out. If it is something that's left out, it will be revealed on what needs to be implemented to get that in that cohesive plan. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. That was a very good eye opener.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Anwar. Yeah, beautiful angle to it. Thank you for sharing your process.
I'm going to try to be very clear. I hope that I am. I'm going to start with the 4 archetypes. And I think that the rational and the visionary really speak to how I function. I can like see and respond to what I'm feeling very well, but like directive strategy and collaboration is something that I'm developing right now. And being in this is helping me to integrate those talents within myself. They're dormant, they're there, they're dormant. The value here that I'm experiencing most, especially today, is that we have the heart, we have the mind, but until we use our words to clearly express what lies within those, we don't get far. And I think that you have mastered, Sasha, how to crystallize and focus the water that we are made of, the water. You talk about flow, you have a picture of waves. You are mastering the water, which is everything. Everything is water, everything everywhere. And that's the gift here. And it's resonance with sound, color, frequency. So the words and the water are one, and that's the gift you have, and that's what we're integrating. I don't know if I was clear, but that's the message. that I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, beautiful energy and vibration. Yeah, I take it in. Thank you.
I also have a question.
Thank you.
I felt like it was hard for me to like tap in, but once you did the meditation, it started to make much more sense. But I felt like I needed that in the beginning so that it can kind of like walk me down with you. So I might like just listen again. But when I did the archetypes, the question that came up was, are we supposed to balance each one of them? Are we supposed to see what areas we like for me strategic felt like 0%, you know? And then all the other ones was like emotional 40, 50 visionary, and then collaborative 10. But in my mind is like, should I be going into all of these fields and seeing how I can acquire more to make like a whole? What was kind of like the point of understanding these things? That's the question.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. The points were the following. One is that one may think that one is a certain type of leadership and isn't the others. Like you were saying, I'm zero, directive or strategic. But I think no one is zero. It may be lower than others, maybe much lower, maybe that you like haven't expressed it, but everybody expresses all four. Like, you know, we go like to camp with people or something, and then we're a team of people, and then we need to, you know, collect the kindle and make the fire and prepare the food and do the dishes and build the tents up and this and that. And so people just naturally start to express as they are authentically in that kind of an environment. And in every action that we do, there needs to be some sort of goal setting, some sort of like, leadership where we, in a way, suggest or tell others what to do, especially in crisis moments. That's when it grows in importance tremendously, when there's no time to spare. It's like, no, do this now. Do this, you do that. And there is a place for that, and there is a huge value in that too. And so those are a couple things. Then also, I feel another message there is that it's about, great question for sure, blending them in us and finding that natural sweet spot for all of us. So if you're not inclined towards directive or strategic leadership, even though I'm convinced you have definitely shown up like that in your life with friends or family or crisis situations at work, whatever. But if not, that's not your most expressed one, then the same idea applies as we have been looking at throughout this whole container in the month one in terms of all kinds of maps, which is when we look at this map and we see where we are, there is usually two things that stand out. One is our DNA, or what we're already good at, what we're already best at, the growth driver. So for you seems to be the visionary piece, right? You said 50% for visionary. Yeah, and then there is another one that kind of like is the lowest. And so if you put zero, and no one can be zero, that's what these frameworks say, then there is an opportunity for you to crank it up to 3% or 5%, not because, you know, there's something lacking in you, but because it cannot be zero. And so you want to wake that up in yourself and show that like firm guidance sometimes in whatever way it shows up, and with whichever people it shows up, and whichever moments of the project you're in it shows up. And so Yeah, that's the third point, that it's about coming back to that natural, authentic, sweet spot. And the two keys to that is embracing what is most natural to you, and also paying attention to what's maybe have been forgotten or not overlooked by you.
I love that so much because now it makes me want to go back to those things and ask specific questions around each archetype, like questions about how I can do it naturally. Like, how do I naturally embrace more of this thing? How can I do that? And I think that would be a great meditation for me to even create, where I can ponder upon these questions so that I can bring more of that balance. I love this. I feel like now I'm starting to get the importance of what you did, but it was just like, now I'm getting it. So I got to go backwards and pick up on those nuggets within asking for myself the questions specifically in each thing. Thank you.
Love it. Yeah. That's how I try to build these containers, building up so that then everything starts to make sense. And also, I want to add one more thing: not only how you can do those things, or how you will do, but also how you are already doing it. Because that's the nature of overlooking. We already do something and we think we don't, but we already do.
I feel like that makes it easier for us to, instead of saying like, I
Exactly.
want to get better at being strategic, how do I already do this in my life so
Exactly.
that I can incorporate from a place of knowing that I already do it instead of this is all new to me. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Laura, Chaz, you guys want to jump in with anything?
I feel like I'm still integrating it, but the meditation was amazing. I agree with everything that was said. Simplistic, simplicity is, what did you say, is the key to perfection, or I forgot what it was. I just need a moment to emotionally internalize it. How we can synergistically, like the opalist, right? How we hold that centering within ourselves. And I always get excited because what I said in the meditation, nothing came up for me as far as words. Because you talk to my brain all the time, and I love that. You shut her down, but shh, just listen. And pictures came up, like some kind of bird flying. And I don't know what that means yet, but it's wonderful because it's heading towards the right direction and asking the right questions. So good job, I say. I just need to integrate it. Because to everyone in the container, all amazing questions that I need to ask myself as well.
Yeah, thank you, dear. Yeah, the questions have been fire for sure. We're jamming in really cool ways. And yeah, I also I agree. I think that those images that were coming through, that they're the seeds that will sprout. Uh, that's how it works. So trust. It's beautiful. Yeah. Chaz, you wanna share anything? You're good for today. Okay. Anyone else wants to share anything? Any last anything before we close? Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. This was fun. Yeah. Okay. See you next time, next Saturday. And have a beautiful weekend. Bye.